Thank you, Angel. Apologies, I've got a nut in my mouth and it just won't go away. I've got a nut in my shoulders too. Yeah, I know. How you doing? Happy Hump Day, everyone. Bit of a momentum shift overnight, I noticed, and it didn't work in my favour, I've got to say. But we'll get through that in the next little bits. First up, let's see if we can trade the pound today, but I suspect not because we've already had a breakout. I think my nut's gone, which is pretty good. Yeah, that's done and dusted for the day for me. I won't be trading the pound as a breakout because it, as I say, has already broken out. And you can see that clearly on our screen. It's broken above the range that we were previously in, the one that we tried to break yesterday, as a matter of fact. And we were wise enough to close that at entry. Actually, I was just a little bit below entry. Hi, Paul P. When I did close that, so no damage done today. Like I said, there was a bit of a momentum shift overnight. Primarily, I believe, on the back of the CPI figures that came out of the US, which produced somewhat of a paradoxical move, in my humble opinion anyway. We might have a talk about that. I'm sure Ash and I will have a chat about that when Ash comes into the room very, very shortly. Essentially, we had, actually I'll briefly go through it. Essentially, we had good numbers coming out of the States. Good number was predicted, and I'm talking about these CPI figures. Good number was predicted better than last time on both counts, the CPI and core CPI. And of course, they actually beat the forecast, which you would imagine that might be a little bit positive for the US dollar. No, it went completely in the opposite direction. Sadly for me, as I said, because I had dollar sing long, which triggered just prior to that announcement, and that was the end of the story. It triggered and that was it. Sadly, I'll have a look at that one a little bit later as well. Everything was good here. Everything was good, but nothing, no result to show for me. In fact, a negative result to show for me. One good move we did make, I think a good move we made, was get out of Euro Kiwi. Euro Kiwi? Yeah, I think it was Euro Kiwi. Yes, it was. Which we were trying to get long, and it just kept going up and down in the one spot. We might as well go to that chart now. There's nothing else to see there. Euro Kiwi just kept going up and down in the one spot after we got entry over here. Missed our TP1 by, I don't know how far, about 13 pips. Maybe we were a little bit ambitious on that. Actually, didn't I? I think I changed that, didn't I? I changed that TP1. Oh, dear. Anyway, I did say that when we closed below the daily pivot, I would close that trade, and I did. And that has saved a fair bit here by the look of it. I think our stop loss was underneath the weekly pivot there somewhere, was it not? 68.39. Yes, right there. So if you didn't close that trade, you would still be in that trade. You wouldn't be feeling very good about it, but you would still be in that trade. I'll go through the reasons why I thought this was on the momentum shift, and certainly we've had it. Well, you'd say it was looking a little bit toppy, but when I saw this particular scenario, that's a false break of the resistance trade line. So break, consolidate. It's also a 3-bar pattern, I think known as an evening star, which is a clear reversal pattern. And then you got another chance to get out. Actually, if you didn't get out where I did, you got another chance to get out before this inverted hammer or shooting star appeared, and that pretty much is all she wrote. But the weekly pivot may just save you if you are still in. You would need very crossed fingers at this point, I would think, as this now looks like a big double top. We'll see if that becomes tradable at any stage. Have I given up on the long? No, I haven't. It's dimming, I must say. My bias is dimming, but I'm still seeing this big reversal bar, this follow through, and thus far, everything is still inside that one. Something's going to give at some stage. I'm not sure when, if it's going to be long. We're going to have to wait a little bit, but this is shaping up now as a false break of this resistance line. So starting to feel that the bears are gaining a little bit of strength here. But as I say, not giving up. I still see this double move, and we haven't had a follow through yet. We may not, but I'll keep watching. And if I get a signal on that, I'll certainly let you know. The one that crashed us last night was this one, Dollar Sing. As I said at the time, this looked very much like a stock standard range trade to me. And we got a series of higher highs, high lows, high high, high low. And better than that, we got a beautiful slingshot candle pattern, this one here, right on the trade line with a big break above all the pivots, all in one, then a retest of all the pivots, all in one. This was just a no-brainer entry for me. Does that mean I've got no brains? Yeah, well, in this particular case, it does mean that. But this is, as I said, a counterintuitive move on the dollar. It's got nothing to do with the Singapore dollar. It's got nothing to do with the Aussie, nothing to do with the euro, nothing to do with the pound. It's all about the US dollar. And why? Why has it sunk on the back of good news? Only a fundamental genius could tell me the answer to that question, because I've got no bloody idea. Yes, you could say that. The market had already priced in that good number, but it was still a beat on the number that was forecast. So I don't know. I can't explain it, guys. It's beyond me, and that's why I'm not a fundamentalist, because I've got no idea how it works. It doesn't make any sense to me. As I said, to me, it's counterintuitive. We shall see what Ash thinks when he comes into the room, and I'm sure he'll have a good reason. Yes, exactly, Jira. Exactly, mate. And I can't wait. Can't wait to hear the answer, because it should, by all intents and purposes, if you follow logic, and I do, and sometimes it doesn't work, logic in the markets, you've got to accept what happens, and that's what happened. But yes, if there's a reason I want to know, and it may not have to do with the CPI, it may be something else that I don't know anything about. We shall see. I know Biden and what's his face? Pooty. I know they were either on the phone, I think, yesterday at some stage. Maybe that had something, I don't know. Anyway, the fickleness of the US dollar remains, and a little bit sad yesterday. Anyway, we'll get over that and we'll move on with something else. Now, today, you got to see what happened. Talk about momentum shifts, as I just did. We had a truckload of market direction bars. Most of these are the ones that I want you guys to watch on the daily chart, and they are known to me as key reversal bars. Now, there were key reversal bars. Some of these aren't key reversal bars. Aussie Kiwi is barely a key reversal bar, but you'd probably have to qualify it as one. Key reversal bar, once again, for your information, is a candle whose high is higher than the high of the previous bar and points in the direction that we want to trade, but that closes on or near its low. That's more a spinning top than anything else. So I would discount that as a key reversal bar, quite frankly. I'd want to close a little bit closer to the low than that has, given the size of the wick. They're equal wicks. So I would discount that as a key reversal bar. CAD Swiss, same sort of story, really. This is a key reversal bar if the body was just a little bit bigger and the tail a little bit smaller. But it's there. It's in the ballpark. And again, the criteria is its low closes or its low is lower than the previous day's bar, and it closes on or near its high. Now that's the grey area, of course. Where's near its high? That is, yes, a discretional thing. And that one, kind of there. I think if everything else lined up for me, I'd probably go with it, but I don't think everything else is lining up for me on that chart. Euro yen. Euro yen is, I would qualify that as a key reversal bar, but there's no way I could trade that into this high. This doesn't make any sense to me. And that, of course, is just the time that it'll go bang. The one that does look good is that one there. Not a key reversal bar because it hasn't closed. Well, again, it's questionable, isn't it? Is it on or near its high? There's no hard and fast rule. It's more a visual thing. I'd kind of qualify it. But again, trading straight into the highs, not a thing for me. So I'd probably let that one go as well. Euro Kiwi, the one that we did trade and got out of, same thing. The wick's a bit too long to call a key reversal bar, but look what it's doing. It's gone straight to the weekly pivot. And who knows what happens from there. The pound pairs were amazing. That is what you call a key reversal bar. That is a superb key reversal bar in that its shape is absolutely ideal. High is higher than the previous day's high, closed on or near its low. The problem with this one is that you're trading straight into support. Now, that's not a problem per se if you can find a take profit before. So 37 pips, you'd have to take profit at 37 or 38 pips on a risk of 107. That's not so bad. That's about 1/3 of the risk that you're taking. So I'm happy with that. Except for one thing. I don't trade black bars short. Like I said, I'm going to learn how to do that, but it just doesn't go with my line of thought. Pound CAD, exactly the same. You could still trade that if you wanted to, and it's exactly the same scenario. Pound Aussie, pound CAD, but look at the difference here. This will give you a very good line, and this is probably a good thing. If pound Aussie is going down quickly and pound CAD is going up quickly, what does that tell you? I won't answer that question until a bit later. What does that tell you? Pound Aussie is going down in a hurry. Pound CAD is going up in a hurry. Both have key reversal bars. So pound Aussie, big key reversal bar off the pivots. If that was white body, you would have to jump through the monitor and pin me down because I'd have to trade that. But because it's a black body, I haven't. And pound CAD is going in exactly the opposite direction on a strong seller bar, exactly the same, right? And across the pivots as well. Again, the only reason I haven't traded that is it's got a black body. But isn't that giving you a strong indicator? One more time. Pound Aussie, key reversal bar, going short. Pound CAD, key reversal bar, going long. I won't answer the question. Nobody's answered the question yet. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Pound Kiwi doing exactly the same thing as pound Aussie, as you would expect, and has, if you would have taken that trade, and I didn't because it is a black body bar, you would have to have taken profit here because the potential for this to just go bang is extremely high. So I just really wanted to point out the amount of key reversal bars there are today. There's another clanger. And again, if it was a white-bodied candle, I'd be jumping all over that, but it isn't, so I won't. That's dollar CAD. Well, we were trying to trade dollar CAD long, aren't we? And we had an order on that earlier. We may still be able to do that. I'd like to see a false break here. So there's a little trade line going through there. Get under here, maybe hit that low, get back above the pivots and retest them. Yum. And I'd go long. And for those of you who do trade them, gold has a pretty good key reversal bar right there. And silver, yeah, it qualifies. It's not as good as gold. Funny that I say that, isn't it? Because the bar's stronger, really. Or is it? I like it when it's got a back to gold, when it's got a nice rejection at the bottom, which that has, and closes on its high. That's pretty much a classic key reversal bar right there. I'll have a talk to Ainsley about it. It's also a higher low, potential higher low off a double bottom on gold. I know she probably wouldn't be willing to take it because of the resistance, but if I saw that bar down there on the monthly pivot, even though it's white, even though I don't trade gold, I think I'd be sorely tempted to jump into it. Anyway, that's my little run around the key reversal bars. I wanted to point out all of those. There's so many of them today, and I want to know why, Ash. Tell me why. Can't hear you, mate.
Sorry, buddy.
There you go.
I was muted. I don't know why. Yeah, we've got the Fed out later, so I guess that might have something to do with it. We got also ECB President Lagarde later on as well, so it's possible that might have.
I didn't even finish the question.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Okay. Forecast for dollar CPI last night was a beat of the previous month.
Yeah.
But the number was a beat of the forecast, and sent the dollar flying down the opposite direction. Why? Tell me why.
Sent the dollar going in the opposite direction. Let me have a quick look at that.
Dollar sold off as soon as it happened, pretty much.
Well, let's have a look. I mean, was it down to? Let me just see what the time of that was.
All over this.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been watching the dollar. What was I watching yesterday? Well, to be honest, of course, I'm in the shares kind of space. But the thing that I'm really interested in right now is the UK is opening back up again. I think we talked about this last year. UK is opening back up again, so I'm quite interested in some retail. We had some crazy jumps yesterday in some retail outlets. 11%, some of them. Greatland Gold. Now, you just spoke about gold, and we'll get to Greatland Gold in a moment. Greatland Gold popped 19% to the upside yesterday. Now, I don't know if that's a signal for gold, but let me just have a look. So core CPI was at 130. Oh, it was off the back of that, yeah. I was wondering whether it was the bond auction, but actually the bond auction was much, much later.
Yeah.
CPI's driven to the upside. That's a great question, mate.
Well, it put a dent in my profit and loss for the day, I can tell you.
Yeah,
well, not that I traded dollar Sing with much money on, but it knocked that straight out of business.
Well, do you know what? I've got something to maybe talk to you about with a slingshot later on. Maybe I don't know if you're free after the show. Actually, I won't be free after the show. At 9:30, I've got to go and look after the little one, but I won't be there for long. I don't know if you're going to be around later on.
I'll be around a bit later.
Okay, we can talk about the other stuff as well. Right, let's have a look. So increase in 0.6 in March, seasonally adjusted basis after rising 0.4 in Feb. The 1 month increase was largest rise since a 0.6 increase in August 2012. So yes, a big number, isn't it? When you read it like that, over the last 12 months, the all times index increase of 2.6% before seasonally adjusted. Gasoline index continued to increase, rising 9.1%. We should have a quick look at oil, contributing to 5% increase in energy over the month. The all items index rose 2.6%. Yes, I mean it's a big. Okay, let's have a look at some of these items here. Nothing down. Apparel was down, so clothing was down. Medicare commodities were down, and transportation services were down, but everything else was popped higher. So that wouldn't really give us too much in the way of information of why it would go down. You've got me with that one, mate. You've got me with that one. The question really is not whether, not so much whether that was the driver for going down. It's the question of whether that gives us actually gives us a buying opportunity, because it doesn't quite match or whether it's a whether it is actually the the route down to the dollar. You're looking at the dollar, you're looking at the gold there, and very very interesting with gold. As I said, Greatland Gold up 19% yesterday, but aside from that that bullish engulfing bar on gold, I didn't really see why Greatland Gold would be up quite as high as it was. But let me just have a quick look at this. The thing is with gold, there seems to be quite a lot of confidence now coming back into the market. You know, I've heard quite a few people say that gold is now on its way higher.
Oh, you want to be careful when that happens.
Yeah, do you know what I thought was quite interesting with gold? I'm just going to show you my chart just briefly here, mate.
Sure.
And we are kind of talking technical because I've got to be honest, mate. That fundamental aspect of CPI has stumped me. And okay, I haven't done much research on that. I've just had a quick look at the release, but that has stumped me somewhat. I've got to say, it's a surprising.
The only thing I can put it down to is that it was forecast to be a beat of the previous month, so maybe it was priced in, but there wasn't any great rally before it, so that doesn't seem to hold water with me. It's just a bit of a mystery. No. But it wouldn't be the first time I've questioned one of those, I can tell you.
Yeah. I mean, I think...
Hi, Lewis. Hi, Paresh.
I'll have a look. I'll have a look. I'll have another look around in a moment. But let's look at gold. Now, that my issue with gold is that the COT and the seasonality don't quite fit yet. They're a little bit tepid. And that's why I'm not keen to push a bullish case with gold. And I have got some. Maybe some might argue I've got too much at the minute. In some respects, I've got too much exposure. But I'm not adding to those positions, which I could do. Because if I believe this is the low, then that's really what I should be doing. But I'm still doubtful. I've still got my questions about gold. Where I think this is quite interesting is the volume of what's happened. Now, this is MT4 volume, so maybe not quite as significant. But there was a pop in volume yesterday. Not a major pop, though. You know, that doesn't suggest, if you were looking at a volume chart that was from a source like the LSE. You know, if I was looking at shares and looking at a volume chart from a source of the LSE, this would tell me where the institutes are sort of like starting to get involved again if I saw a pop in volume. But there's a big difference between this volume point here and this volume point here. Now, some of the issue is that this volume was off this bearish bar, and if we run that bearish bar low, it's the area that we're in. You know, this is the area that we're in. So where I'd feel more comfortable would be if gold pops and takes out the top of that bar. And where that would also be quite good is because there's an obvious horizontal level of resistance there as well. So 1770. Now it's a bit further away, but if you're looking at gold on a long-term play, that won't bother you at all. The only other thing that would change my mind is if by the end of the week I see cotton seasonality change quite significantly. Jerome Powell in his speech kind of doesn't promote any gold upside. That would help the case as well, I think. But I'm still not quite there with it, mate. I'm still not quite on board with it. There is a volume spike there. It's not that significant. And if you were drawing a line here, there's still kind of like, the move is still down. I mean, it's not a trend line. It's just showing you the move, but the move is still kind of like low with gold. So until it starts to really break through some of these areas of volume and suggest that the volume, the buy has volume to the upside, then I'm not on board. I'm not fully sold. Yeah, I'm not fully sold. And look at the same with silver. Not really a big kick in volume. You know, when we saw this this bar here, which is, it's close enough to an engulfing bar, and we are potentially seeing an inverted head and shoulders kind of go like forming here, and a possible breakthrough of an area as well. It looks like, yeah, there is a breakthrough of an area. So some upside is on the cards. I would concur with that. But is it enough? Is the upside that we getting enough to say this is now a bottom, and it could change? You know, there's no doubt that things could change, and we see that the volume profile pick up, and we see the COT data and the seasonality. Well, not seasonality, that won't change, but COT data really start to pick up as well. Then I would be interested. You know, then I'd be interested in saying, okay, fine, we've managed to reach a point now that that gold and silver have bottomed out. I'm still a bit concerned with a 1550. In saying all this, I've heard many people say, in fact, I haven't really got anybody that's on the bearish side with gold anymore. Paul was posting yesterday about some information that he's got, which is all about gold long. Julian was gold long on Sunday. So the guys are gold long, which is great, and I hope it does go long from here. But I'm not a seller by any stretch, but I'm not putting my eggs in the basket fully just yet. I'm kind of hoping for some more downside. So maybe that's skewing my opinion, but the signs just aren't bullish enough at this stage, I don't think.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's my take on gold. Now, when it comes down to the dollar, let's have a look at what happened with the dollar. So again, the dollar's moved to the downside. Now, if we just have a look at the volume here on that, again, you know, it's not massive. It's a very bearish looking bar, but it doesn't, you know, it wasn't like a huge amount of selling according to the volume profile here. Now, I think I was talking to Lloyd about this the other day about volume on MT4, and he said, no, actually, it's a lot more accurate than you may think. You know, I think he was saying it's you know, maybe close to 70% accurate, because they have to get their feed as well from somewhere. And if you look at all the MT4 platforms, they're probably all going to be fairly similar when you look at the volume here. So again, I don't think that's significant, mate. You know, look at this. Look at the volume spike here, and you get this bar, this bullish looking bar here, and that produced a really good run to the upside. Another volume spike here. Now, okay, that's not a bullish bar, but what that is telling, and it's not telling us anything about the bar. The one thing it's telling us is that there's lots of activity here. But what's interesting is the activity is at the low and it holds. Now, that's not a signal to buy, but it certainly would be when that bar's taken out, because it, you know, there's likelihood that there's stops at the highs and stops at the lows, depending on which way it's going. It breaks to the upside and then it goes. This one, much more significant bar. This one, I don't know, not so sure about that. You know, look at this one here. Big drop to the downside on a high with a spike of volume, and it just drops away. Does this drop away? I just, you know, I don't know, mate. I'm not sure if I'm making the case clearly enough or not, but it's just not clean. It's just not clean enough for me. It's not.
I think you're entitled to believe that as soon as you hit a support level, it's going to have a little bounce.
Exactly, and I want to see that bounce with some volume. You know, I want to see it being an institutional bounce rather than it being a retail bounce, if you like.
You're still in an uptrend, don't forget, you know.
Exactly, and that's the thing, isn't it? I wonder whether this is actually a buying opportunity, and I wonder again, you know, back to gold, is it a selling opportunity? You know, I think people get caught in here. Let's not call it caught, because they might well end up being right. People start to buy up gold from here, and I wonder whether that run to the upside stops at 1770 and then just comes all the way down again. So this might be a kind of false start. I'm just not there with it yet. The volume has been dropping away with gold as we've come down here. Now that is positive in many respects, because it means that the selling interest, if you like, has dried up. But what I want to see next is, where's the pop? Does the pop come on breakout, or does the pop come on breakout to the downside? This is still a range as far as I'm concerned. You know,
yeah, if it is a bull trap, we may have already seen it, that pop to the upside, and it's not significant enough for me to be a bull trap. I think that other line you've got in your chart, if it is to fail, it'll probably fail there.
Yeah. Now, of course, there is an IPO today. We're seeing Coinbase IPO today. Bitcoin is taken off to the upside.
Yeah.
So that's looking good. No, I haven't checked I was forced into Argo blockchain in the end, which I didn't want to be forced in, because it was at a much higher price than I wanted. And interestingly, when I was forced in, and with Bitcoin doing what it's doing, it just started to drop. And actually, it's dropping again today. So I'm not quite sure why Argo is all of a sudden out of correlation. It seemed to listen to me that I was getting in, and it decided to go in the opposite direction. But
apart from a movie, what's Argo? Oh no, it was Fargo, wasn't it? Sorry.
oh, very good film that. Yeah, I mean, it's, in a way, I don't mind if it drops. In some respects, I'd quite like it another 40% lower, and I'll pick up some more of that one. But yeah, Argo is dropping down while Bitcoin's going up. Many of the other cryptocurrencies are doing very, very well as well. So we see Bitcoin there. We see Bitcoin Cash, which we talked about a little bit yesterday. Ethereum is going up, Litecoin going up, and of course XRP is just an absolute runaway train at the minute. Does it get back up to its prior highs at $3? Probably. But look at that, mate. I mean, that's a month.
What's XRP?
It's Ripple. It's kind of a something to make the bank's exchange easier, instead of like is it called BACS and all that kind of thing.
Pass.
but what I think it's got, like, it's third or fourth in market cap when it comes down to the crypto space. So it's one of the players in the crypto space. In some respects, it's not really a coin. But you can see what's been going on. They had lots of trouble with the SEC recently, where they were being investigated for some kind of wrongdoing, and it pushed the price right down. And very, very, but really recently, it pushed the price down. It was this point here, actually. So at the start of 2021, the price of Ripple was at 20 cents, and now it's at near $2. So we're up a 10x on XRP in a matter of 4 months. It was a big move. It's been a big move in XRP.
What market, Lewis? Are we in the market? You mean on this thing?
Now, worth mentioning the Aussie yen as well. I've taken a little short in the Aussie yen, as everybody knows from yesterday, but I've also taken it now on my other account. And where are we? Where are those pivots? It's had a decent move to the upside today, but I am short Aussie yen.
It's at the weekly pivot at the moment.
It's at the weekly pivot. Perfect. Okay, so which one am I on here? Here we go. No, not on that one. I want one with pivots, don't I? So here we go. No. Oh, let me bring it up on the other one. So the weekly pivot's sitting around about that 83.70 level. Now there is a slight issue. So I took the trade yesterday with Aussie yen. Here we go. Oh, I don't know if I've got it with pivots. Oh, here we go. There we go. Oh gosh, no, that's the wrong chart. So I've got it on both accounts now. I've decided to initiate it on my my own personal account. It's actually just going through that pivot a little bit. But what we've got is this trend line, and I'll be looking for this trend line to hold. That the issue that I've got is that my stop is not quite above that trend line yet. I could do with another. I could do with another day, really, mate, where the price doesn't break out. But you can see that this is the zone, if you like, that there is a little trading range here, a box, if you like, that the Aussie yen is caught in, and we're at the higher end of that particular trading range, which is why I did take a trade just here on my other account. Now I wasn't in previously. I was in the Kiwi yen, but that's now been stopped out of break even as the Kiwi popped to the upside. I think I was in here short, so I took some profit on the initial trade, and I moved stops to break even, and it took me out on the pop to the upside after the central bank statement. But look where it is. The Kiwi's actually probably, technically speaking, it's more attractive. Really good spot for some downside here. But I think the COT and seasonality are kind of driving me more towards an Aussie yen. But I wonder whether you could probably take either. Now, if you look at the Aussie Kiwi, then you might get a better feel. If anybody's interested in going short, if you look at the Aussie Kiwi, then you might get a better feel of which one you prefer. And looking at the dailies,
Yeah, I'm still in Euro Aussie. I think I haven't checked it for a while. I think we've lost Ash from at the moment. I'm barely in Euro Aussie still. Of course, it's a free trade, so it won't make that much difference. Well, it does. Of course, it makes a difference. Look, I think we've gone risk off for some reason. That's the only conclusion I can come to when I have a look at that. There's no real reason that I know of domestically why the Aussie should rally. So I really don't know, Lewis, can't answer your question. Of course, against the dollar, you understand, because the dollar's just gone nuts. Potentially, hang on, I'll share screen. We have lost Ash. There we go. So Aussie dollar, as I said, you can understand it. And look how beautifully technical it was. If you happened to believe that the US dollar was going to crash on that news, look at that. How good's that? Little black bar there, sitting entry above the daily pivot. The only problem, of course, is the weekly pivot is dead ahead, but it had been broken and retested. Bang goes your mangoes, straight up to there. Perfect, absolutely perfect. There's another one of those somewhere. Well, I was looking at that earlier. Dollar CAD maybe. No. Kiwi CAD. There you go. Kiwi CAD. I placed an I placed an order on Kiwi CAD this morning. And hang on a second. I don't think, you can't. There you go. I placed an order on dollar CAD this morning, and you'd think, oh, wow, what a lovely trade that was. No, hang on. I was going short, right? Now, the wonderful part about that is, and this happened a couple of times overnight, where I'm seeing this as a bear flag, right, and waiting for it to break to the low side. And I see this bar here, which is a higher low on the back of a double bottom, which is something I trade right all the time, except it's got a white body. So much for me not trading white bars. Look at that. That's just so nicely technical if you look at it back. And of course, aren't we fantastic traders when we look at it back? But I was trading this bar here short. Why? Because I've got key reversal bar there, suggesting to me that this is going to reverse, and it did, but only down to the bottom of the range. And then I got a lower high. Well, no, I didn't get a lower high. I got the start of a lower high. I actually didn't get the lower high. So my speculation as to whether that was going to be a lower high or not hasn't paid off. But the higher low most certainly has. Bang, that's a good trade if you took it and didn't take any notice of me. But anyway, we didn't get triggered, so that order obviously was cancelled once it got through the high of that bar. Now, if I'm a scalper, wow, wonder can I turn scalper for the day, Ash?
Oh, I don't see why not, mate. I mean, it's, you do a pretty good job at scalping.
Gee, that's a good spot.
Sorry, my internet got a bit sticky there.
That's okay. Look, I'll come back to this, guys. This is absolutely perfect territory to go short, I've got to say.
Where are we at? What are we looking at here, mate? We're looking at the
Kiwi CAD.
Kiwi CAS, yeah. They're having a pretty good run, aren't they, this morning so far? Now, I wonder whether that might be something to do again with that CPI data. The S&P took a bit of a pop to the upside after that price inflation. I was just trying to dig around to see if I could find why we might be seeing the dollar go down, and it's just a comment. All I'm finding, Reuters just told me that the dollar went down. Well, I can see that on the chart.
Thanks.
I mean, you know, what you guys paid for?
Yeah, they get paid big money to write that.
Yeah. So
my other favourite one is it could go up or it could go down.
yeah, yeah, nice and non-committal. So yeah, I'm not seeing why, but I suppose there might be something somewhere. Somebody will have an opinion, whether they're right or not. I don't know, but
well, at the end of the day, it's happened, and there's SFA we can do about it. So
yeah, well, as I say,
we'll
mate, do you know,
it would be nice to know, though. It would be nice to know.
Yeah, well, where this I think becomes interesting is after we hear the Jerome Powell speech, because what I'd like to now see is, does the dollar rest on that area that we were looking at before? So if you look at a dollar Swissy chart, it's probably the closest looking. I know it's not as correlated to I know it's not as correlated as the euro, but the dollar Swissy. Now, what I'd really like to see is, can the dollar hold here? Maybe a little bit lower. You know, you see that on that data, there's maybe a little bit lower. And that looks like a pretty good line, mate. If you look looks like a decent support line. The question is, does it hold there? Because after Jerome Powell's speech, we're likely to see what's going to happen with the dollar. And what would be then interesting is to hear if he mentions the CPI data positively, negatively, or indifferently. And I guess if he's a bit indifferent about it, maybe the dollar doesn't hold. But if he notes that the CPI data is possibly a bit more worrying and a bit quicker, is coming out, the inflation's coming a little bit faster than he wanted, then the dollar's likely to get a pop to the upside. So at this stage, I'm still thinking this is a buying opportunity. Not that I would want to go long the dollar that's okay, man. That's okay as well. Not that I'd want to go long the dollar by any stretch, but I still wonder whether it's a buying opportunity and whether we see things pop to the downside.
Yeah, look, you can make a case for it, can't you? I mean, that is a strong support level. It's a potential right side of the neck. So it's a potential neckline through here.
Yes.
Which would give you a shoulder in this vicinity at the pivots. Makes a lot of sense.
Yes. But yeah, Gyra, I still can't figure that one out, mate. I still can't figure that one out. And I wasn't listening to news. What was I doing yesterday? I'll tell you what, I had my face in lots of robot testing yesterday. So and this is I'm taking a longer term trade on the Aussie yen, but aside from that, I find trading very difficult when I've got something else that's got to take my mind, and sort of doing lots of back testing on currencies is not the best to try and make some short term decisions on. So I missed that news release, and I'm sure there would have been a reason behind it mentioned on Bloomberg or CNBC at the time. In actual fact, are there any headlines on Bloomberg or CNBC? And I was going to try and listen this morning, but I kind of got caught into some news that Tesco, one of our biggest retailers, have posted a huge loss, which is surprising to me because people still need food. And as far as I'm aware, Tesco, they kind of hit the ground pretty well when it came down to selling food and other items online. But they hit a pretty bad loss. Yeah, there's nothing on Bloomberg when it comes down to headlines that I can see. So I'm not sure. And it's the same as, sometimes things just don't go the way you think they're going to go at all. Correlation has been strong between Bitcoin and Argo blockchain. Sorry to keep going on about it. And all of a sudden they are diverging. And what does that tell you? Correlation between gold and gold miners is obviously evident. But why is Greatland Gold up 19% and we've just seen a very small pop in gold? It's difficult to know. Difficult to know exactly why. But we can certainly speculate that that something is afoot when you see this divergence kind of going on. And I don't know which way you go with it. Do you trust the gold charts, or do you trust the share?
I'm just trying to get a hold of Ainsley at the moment because I'd love her to comment on gold.
Yeah.
And I would also like to know if she's coming in. I'm just not getting a response. Sorry, so I wasn't really listening to what you're saying, bud.
It's standard. So just for anybody in the room that doesn't that isn't fully understanding this, or I don't know, are you on YouTube, mate? Is there anybody on YouTube that's asking? Okay, no questions on YouTube.
No questions.
Okay, so because yesterday we did cover a little bit about some of the fundamentals, and just so everybody fully understands, and I'm sure they do, but just in case there are some people out there that are a little bit new to this, the reason we're discussing inflation versus the price of the dollar is that if you see so the inflation read was the CPI data, and that stands for Consumer Price Index, and it tells you what the consumer is paying, what we're paying it in the shops. So if you see that the Consumer Price Index start to go higher, then over here, and it's only one of the metrics that the central bank will use, and I don't even think they use CPI as their main metric, but it will feed into other inflation metrics. One way that that the central bank can control pricing going higher is to also raise the interest rate of the dollar, because
have you got a screen to share, mate? I think we're still sharing.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. There we go. So yeah, you'll see as CPI data starts to move to the upside, one way that the central bank can control that is by raising the interest rate of the dollar, because it manages to keep that effectively sort of takes the supply away for the dollar, which means that you get more for your money when they raise interest rates, and if you get more for your money, then inflation can be kept under control effectively, because as long as the dollar can rise at the same rate of inflation, then you're not paying more for your goods in the shops. So their main mandates are full employment and price stability, and if and CPI data falls under that price stability, so it's a really important gauge for where things are likely to go, which is why when I'm looking at it, my question really to myself is this a signal that that we've got a disparity in price and data, or is there something going on behind the scenes that we just don't understand at this stage? And we will understand it at some point. We will get the SP on it, but we just don't know what it is yet. But does that mean that we are actually in a situation where the dollar is a buying opportunity because it's out of sync with the fundamentals, and that's yet to be seen. And I suppose what we might see then is what happens with Jerome Powell. And it's really interesting really important to get that. Here's the euro. The euro is an inverted head and shoulders. So when we're looking at this is an obvious reversal pattern here. Left shoulder, there's the head, and the right shoulder kind of starts to come back down here again. But that does make this the neckline, and if it makes this the neckline, you can see how long this area took to form. And if this is going to be a nice mathematic head and shoulders, nice and even, then really what we want to see is this happen the same over here, which means that we've got quite a while before that forms, which means that we're looking really for it to come down there before the potential bounce to the upside. That would be the timing of the inverted head and shoulders forming, which puts us really on right at the end of the month. Not quite yet. So is this a selling opportunity with euro dollar? Is it a selling opportunity? Sorry, is it a buying opportunity with dollar Swissy? I don't know, and I won't know until I can figure out what's going on with CPI, but more importantly, what's happened with Jerome Powell. But what I would say, mate, is that if we are at this level of resistance here, and we've got a central bank speaker coming out, this is unlikely to burst through today. Sorry, before he speaks.
Prior.
Yeah. So, any scalpers that would be probably looking at this, that they might want to have a look at a very short-term time frame before that speech and see if there's any positions to get into the downside.
Yeah, look, I am.
You are, yeah. I mean, taking a short here and not being clear of the news and data would be pretty dangerous. So you'd need to make sure that you're experienced enough to time it correctly.
Yeah, look, it's the same always, though, isn't it? When you get a breakout, it's always, oh my God, this is going to the moon, or it's never going to stop.
Yes.
The reality is, the market has made a move overnight, and what we're trying to say is that may not be the be all and end all. It may just be that somebody wanted to make a move in the market, or some sector of the market made a move, or it may even be as simple as, I don't know, somebody bought a truckload of something somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that it's going to happen tomorrow. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen for the rest of the day. So I think now is probably the time where you do need to concentrate more than anything else, because we are at what they call them inflection points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we're going to really see if that move that was made yesterday is sustainable, or, as you say, Ash, whether it's simply providing a perfect opportunity to go with the direction that we thought the market was going to go in the first place.
Yeah.
And the way to do that for me is quite simple. Although I would love to have an order Kiwi CAD right now, short at, let me even give you the level I'd love to go short at. It is 89.20, which is about 13 pips from where we are. I think that would be an excellent shorting opportunity, but I can't go against that momentum because I don't know. I don't know the answer to the question. What will give me an indication is if it does bounce off that level, put in what ostensibly would be a double top sitting there, and then give me a lower high. Because what that then tells me is the move that was made first up is not the way to go, because the next high is not higher, which means, to my mind, that those who got in wherever they got in are not willing to go through with it again, or they're not ready to go again. So therefore, they should be overpowered by the dudes who are going in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So it's that lower high that really does make the difference for me.
Yeah, I agree. And do you know what? Back to what we were saying about gold as well. Interesting that we get that bar. Shall I cover this first? In fact, before I get to that, mate, I've got a question for you. Before I get to that, I'm just going to talk briefly about this Aussie yen over the Aussie Kiwi. So the reason that I think, technically speaking, the Aussie yen is more interesting for a short is because if I look at the Aussie Kiwi, because this is where I was before I lost internet. If I look at the Aussie Kiwi, to my mind, if I look at this on a longer term time frame here, is on a potential area of support. There's a touch here, there's a touch here. Now we're in this area here on the Aussie Kiwi. This is a potential area of support. Now, if you're not convinced by the trend line, then you can just look at this horizontal level over here. There's the touch that it needs to break through. Now it's a bit sloppy here, so you may not love it, but I think that's pretty definite there, and I'd say that's pretty definite there. So now this area, just by basic chart analysis and first point education that we all kind of take about trading at support, buying at support and selling at resistance, this is a support zone. So that suggests that the Aussie should be stronger. Actually, I'm making a case for the Kiwi here. The
and
Aussie
I haven't got one for the Kiwi. I thought the Kiwi was a dead set sell, but
in that case, I might have to take both the Aussie yen short and the Aussie Kiwi short. I started explaining that
on
before.
weekly. Let me have a look.
Yes.
Can I extrapolate a line through there? No, not really.
Ainsley's in the room, mate. So I've got a quick question for you and Ainsley, actually, because this this puts us right onto the conversational point I wanted to talk about. Aussie yen is still valid, by the way, but I think actually looking at this, it might be that the Kiwi yen might be a better short than the Aussie yen in accordance to the chart pattern. However, the COT data is better for the Aussie, so I'm going to stick with that one. I might go short on the Kiwi as well. But quickly on gold before we ask Ainsley this same question. Yesterday, we see a push to the upside. We see an obvious buying bar here. You know, everybody's learned this bar. This is an engulfing bar. The low goes below the previous low. The close is above the previous highest point. So that's an obvious engulfing bar. It's bounced off an area that we like to look at as well. This is actually, I'm not going to call that a higher high because it doesn't break through that point there. But it is a break of this particular trend line here. So there is some. God, I'm not doing very well here, Jeff. It's not a break of the trend line.
What was the question you were going to ask me?
So the question I was going to ask you is, we get the information yesterday before something significant, as in Jerome Powell's speech.
Mm-hmm.
Does this bar become as valid?
Well, the bar's not valid for me anyway, because I don't trade that bar because it's a bull bar, because everyone else is trading the bull bar. I'm not like everyone else, as you know.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't want to be any part of that. But when I look back in 3 months' time and gold is at $22,000, I'll say, gee, that was a good entry, but it wasn't for me.
Yes, yeah. Well, but if we focused on the fact that there is a central bank speech, does that negate the look of this bar? Is my question.
Oh, look, like I said before, I think if the bull trap has been sprung, which would be 3 bars back, the false break, if you like. If that's been sprung, then this is going short no matter what. So I don't think it's going to matter what Jerome Powell says, but that's not the question. The question is we don't see that false breakout. I can't go long here because of the resistance you're trading straight into. That would freak me out. It is a higher low potential on the back of the double bottom, so it's absolutely stock standard. Yes, let's go long, but like you, I've got big question marks on this, and I would definitely want to see that pivot tested below it. That's the monthly pivot, and I think if there is going to be a double bottom and higher low, the higher low will be lower than what it currently is, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, let's ask Ainsley the same question. Ainsley, are you with us?
Hello,
I think she's struggling to get in, actually. She's trying. She's definitely trying to get in. We can't hear you, Ainsley, if you are there. We can see that your mic is off, but we can't hear you or see you, actually.
She could well be busy. She could well be busy cooking because
no. I can see Ainsley playing with a mic, trying to speak, but I don't think there's any joy there. Okay, we'll wait for you, Ainsley. I mean, if you manage to kind of get in, that will be great. If you don't, then it's no big deal. We can see that you're trying. The Jara is just saying about the strategy states that the Aussie yen will go long for further, and it may well. I mean, there's I'm not saying that that I'm right particularly. All I'm saying is that the strategy actually doesn't say that, does it, Jara? If you look at the weekly pivot.
I think, like I said yesterday, I can't get a firm direction on Aussie yen at the moment. I think it's really tough.
Yeah,
you made your case, Ash, and I totally see your case. And I think when you hit that confluence area, it's probably that's going to be the telling factor, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I hope I don't hit that confluence area because it's getting a little bit too close. Getting a bit close to my level. So I'm hoping it's going to fail here. And I think it's got a good chance of failing here. I picked out 3 places of potential failure. This is the first one. That was my first entry. Oh no, it was there. Sorry, that was my first entry. This is another one here. for another potential entry. And of course, we know about the monthly pivot. My problem here, mate, is that it's getting to the point that a spike could take me out the trade, and then I could end up being right anyway.
Yes.
Which would be very frustrating.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the space we live in, isn't it? It's a pain in the ass when it happens, but
it is. And what I want is this to be still. If this is still under this level by Friday, then I'll feel a bit safer that spike. You know, if it's going to happen, it may well just get to the monthly pivot. I'm not that high above the monthly pivot, which is a bit annoying, or a bit of a shame. But what I'd love to see is it down here somewhere by Friday, or in this zone, just unable to break these highs. But you can see that there's structure here. There's also a low here, which provides structure. There's Ainsley there.
Hello.
Hello,
That's amazing. I have a computer with only X number of USB ports, and obviously somebody needed the printer and didn't plug me back in.
Oh, I need a printer actually, Ainsley. If you don't mind doing a quick printing for me, you can get off camera and mic for a little while. And
actually, here's a question for all the techno-savvy people in the room speaking about printing.
Yeah.
And any answer is good enough because I haven't got one. I've got this image. You know my image. I haven't got it with me.
Yeah, we know the image. Yeah.
It's on A3, and I need a high definition copy of it. How do I get that?
Send it to Snap Printing, or you can send it down to the local library, A3.
Oh, Officeworks or somewhere.
Yeah,
And next on Bloomberg, next coming up on Bloomberg, we have a discussion about.
When you go to Officeworks, Jeffy, you need one of these things.
There you go.
Get one of those things, print and copy, and go zing with your USB.
Perfect. But I don't have a USB. That's my question. I've only got
this could go. Take us. I don't know where this is going to take us, Jeff.
Well, I know there's some tech-savvy people in the room, so I thought there'd be an answer coming. I've got
the Tasmania as well. So let's be realistic here, shall we, boys and girls?
Let's talk about gold.
Let's talk about gold. Yeah. So, what did you read yesterday, Ainsley, from that bar?
Can I be really rude? Can I? And it's not rudeness. It's just a difference. I'm going to have a difference of opinion, if that's okay.
Well, I mean, you're the queen of gold.
What a surprise, right? Okay. So for me, this bar. So you were talking about this bar here on my daily.
Yes. Yes.
For me, I need for it to be bullish engulfing. You need, the first thing is a retracement. That's not a retracement to me, or you need a downtrend for it to actually reverse what you're seeing. To me, that's not a downtrend. It is still within the consolidation box. All I have done with my consolidation box, which is boring as watching paint dry. There we go. It's still within this area. It still hasn't given me a really strong downtrend. Yes, you could say that was this bar here on the 4-hourly. Now that's bounced off S1 on the, so this is weekly S1 here, by the way, I've got on my 4-hourly. So you could say, yes, there's a bullish engulfing and a reversal bar and a ring low and a bounce. And we got the bounce. Congratulations. Hooray. But what happened to the US dollar overnight? What happened to the yields overnight?
Yeah, so what was going on? What did you read into that, Ainsley? We had a CPI data print up and we've got a dollar down. What happened there?
Okay, so what happened there? That bar, because that move, if you drop down to the alley, because I was looking going, yeah, I got a short here. Let's see if it goes below the below S1. And then all of a sudden, everything just started going in the opposite direction. I'm like, huh?
Yeah, you noticed this morning. I noticed.
Yeah, do you know what it was? It was the Johnson & Johnson vaccine had been put on hold, and bang.
Was that released at the same time? Was that news released at the same time?
Absolutely. Completely at the same time. And it was because it was causing the clots, but it was before the market opened, Ash.
Okay.
It happened just prior to the market opening. So if you drop down to an app, I can do that because it's my chart.
There we go, Jeff. We knew we'd find the answer in the end.
We did.
So
just got to dial in.
Ask me.
Right.
Ask me.
Dilate.
Dilate for answer.
Yeah, I like it.
Ask a friend, phone a friend. So yeah, that's what we had. We had this massive reaction in the market to, hey, what was happening with the COVID with vaccine. And because they've already delivered several million Johnson & Johnson over in the States, which is a one shot, they were just worried about, and the percentages like I think there's about 4 or 5 zeros, 86% of, so 6 people have come up with, 6 confirmed cases have come up with this very rare blood clot in relation to the Johnson & Johnson. Now, unfortunately, we've also got that with the AstraZeneca here in Australia, which is, we've got 2 out of a couple of 100,000. So, you know, we are special, but we're behind with the vaccine rollout. But that's what happened there. That was news was released prior to market open, and then she took off. But then we've had all this nonsense over the, as you can see, it got to a point and just was like, okay, now what do? We've got the US dollar dropping and we've got yields doing whatever. And we had all this nonsense. And as you can see, we're still down. So for me to say that that is a bullish engulfing doesn't quite meet my requirements. I agree with Jeff. I'm looking for a bit more of a pullback before. I need a bit more of a downtrend. It has to have a defined downtrend. That is consolidation.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
well, I
that?
think we're all on that page. Actually, we were destroyed.
Yeah.
So the one thing about that, Ainsley, is that I noticed that the 30-year bond auction actually the yields went up, didn't they?
Yeah, so she should come down. But where's she going? So Jules and I had this conversation this afternoon. He said, so where do you think she's going with gold? And I said, we looked at a chart. He said, not lately. I've been in meetings. And I said, absolutely freaking nowhere. It's just gone sideways. It's getting very boring. She's shiny, she's gold, she's beautiful, and she's out of favor. That's all I can say. That's all we got was gold. At the moment, what's Bitcoin at? 60.
Bitcoin 63 or 64, isn't it now?
Yeah, I saw it at 64,000. I still think it's a pyramid scheme, but that's just my personal thing. Anyway, because
so do I.
We've got the Coinbase IPO today, Ainsley. That's why we're seeing a push in cryptos. But I want it higher. Argo blockchain's now going up, which is good.
100 billion. 100 billion they've got that. That is bigger than all of the exchanges put together. 100 billion.
Yeah, they've overshot themselves there, haven't they? There's no way that
everybody going to pile out.
That's going to tank. I mean, I can't see why that would be an unusual IPO where it actually does really well at launch. I mean, they've way overpriced it. Where it comes down to, I don't know. But who knows, Ainsley? I mean, actually, you make a really interesting point, because if the IPO fails because they've overvalued it, and it's all Dragon's Den stuff, isn't it? You go into Dragon's Den. I think you guys call it Shark Den or something like that.
For that reason, I'm out.
Yeah, for that exactly. So one of the main reasons they get out is because people walk in with crazy valuations of their companies. They might have a brilliant idea, but they're asking for too much. And
that's the places they pull on that.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to be pulling those faces when they've heard what Coinbase has valued their IPO at. So when Coinbase do launch their IPO, and it probably will tank, I wonder whether that might be a catalyst for some downside with these cryptocurrencies. And I think you make a really good point with bringing that up. So I'm
completely on your side. I think I'm completely ethically challenged with investing.
I can't get my head around it, Jeffy. I just can't. And I sent Shukri a Skype message a couple of weeks ago, and I said, my trading brain can't get around, and the accounting side of my brain cannot balance the ledger. Who's on the other side of the trade? It's nobody. It's the next person down. It's not a debit credit entry. Like, you know, when you're buying one side with currency, you know, when you're buying this, you're selling that.
Yeah.
I got that. But with crypto, you're not. You're buying it to the next person underneath, and that's called a pyramid. And if you look at a chart, because I can't help myself, because I'm old and cynical, Jeff, there you go. If you look at that.
You wait till you get my old and cynical age.
Look, probably I'll
Yeah, really
won't make it. I have 2 teenage girls, and seriously, I'm not sure I'm going to they won't make it. I'm not I'm sure all 3 of us are going to make it to old age. When you look at that, doesn't that look like typical pyramidical?
It does. I mean, there's no doubt that the price chart is it's sketchy, isn't it? But you can't argue with what people are doing with cryptocurrencies, and the staking aspect of it really does make it fascinating. And even though I agree, I think that there's some potential downside, and that with something that goes up like that, there's some potential downside. Ultimately, it will bottom out and it will go up again. There's probably we're probably potentially we could be at a bit of a high here. But as I say,
Ash, get your head around this one. So China, I was reading late last week, early this week, they're already trialing their digital currency, right?
Yes.
It's out there. It's in the marketplace. Do you think China will allow any of their population to have, use Bitcoin?
Well, you're absolutely right, and I suppose
right?
this is where this is where the further it gets into public imagination and the more people that get involved in it, then the more we get this squeeze. There's no way, but it's no different to when tech started, if you like. It was the Wild West, wasn't it? It was sort of like what was moving, what wasn't moving, and then you get a dot-com bubble. Yeah, so these bubbles do happen.
The dot-com bubble. I don't think Ash was born then, but the dot-com bubble.
Probably was.
I remember that, and I remember that with a lot of people who I knew who were investing big money in it, and I'm just like, yeah, but let's have a look at the valuation. Oh yeah, but this personality and this celebrity are talking it all up, and it's just like, yeah, but can we go back to what is it that they're making, and what's their profit and loss, and and it's just like it was the emperor's clothing.
Yeah.
And it went kaboom, 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 because fear of missing out pushed everything out, and then obviously the smart money, and then some of the not so smart money got out, but some of the not so smart money got burned.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of thing, and I just
sorry, mate,
can't get my head around it.
I've been arguing that point, Jaira, from the get-go. And those who are making lots of money out of cryptocurrencies, good on them. Don't have a problem. I do have a problem with it because I am ethically challenged on it. But
talking about
it's not sour grapes. It's not sour grapes.
No,
I don't care what other people. No, it's not. Absolutely not.
It's got nothing to do with sour grapes. No.
You've got to stick to your knitting, and because trading's not a hit and miss, right? You don't just go bang. Okay, what's the next big thing? You won't have any longevity unless you have an understanding, especially with commodities. If you don't have an understanding what makes those commodities move or doesn't move, like gold or oil at this stage, although oil's having a nice little flick back up, and we talked about, I was expecting a bit more of a flick up on oil towards the end, during this week, but then all my charts on seasonality are saying that it should come off towards the end of the week. So I'm looking at this. OPEC are being really good. OPEC is giving a lot of stability. The US supplies are down still. So with the supplies coming down, because obviously at this time of the year they've been through quite a bit with oil usage and heating and all that kind of jazz. But also OPEC are keeping a lid on it and not running off at the mouth, unlike me. They're not running off at the mouth and increasing production. So everything's been quite neatly under control. We've had these big flicks around with, again, as we said on Sunday on TTR and during, I've said previously, she's really sensitive. Oil is really sensitive to somebody saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody says the right thing, they're happy. The wrong thing, yeah, she tanks. But at the moment in my big chart, we're still getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Now, is this a false breakout? Don't know. Is it going to come back down again? Who knows? At the moment, But this seasonal chart, my arrows here on this seasonal chart are from a 53-year seasonal chart with no filter. Did I have filters or no filters? My filters are that it was a post-election, and I can't remember which one I went with. Just bear with me for 30 seconds. I'll look that up.
I was going to say, I was completely joking, of course, about sour grapes, because the thing is, one thing I will say is that what's interesting here is that, you know, where we know these other markets have been around for a long time. This is where, in a way, you trading currencies, Jeff, and looking at oil and gold outlast this stuff, doesn't it? Because we know this stuff. It's been around for long enough to trust.
I can't answer that question.
Well, I suppose the fiat currencies is tricky, but in some respects, we can just go along. I suppose what I'm saying is you can kind of play the long game and go along your business. It doesn't really matter what happens in these other fields. It's great that people are making money, but right. It's not really relevant what's happening over there, because what we want to make sure that we're doing is if we choose a specific pace and we're happy with that pace and we're making money, that's all that really matters. What other people are doing is not important at all.
Yeah.
As long as everybody on the other side is okay with, you know, the risks that they're taking, they've got their eyes wide open. But I don't think that's happening with the space at the moment.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's getting a bit crazy. I mean, I'm going to have a look at the IPO in a moment just to see what I'm going to do with my stuff. Jeff, can you answer this from David? David just asked. Yeah, he's asking about how do I always make sure that I'm trading the weak currencies with the strong currencies. He's paired them on the hourly chart and he started looking at FinViz. Now, you look at FinViz, don't you?
I do. I'll go to FinViz in just a tick. Ainsley, do you still need some more time?
No, I'm done. Unless you want me to wax lyrical about risk management.
Well, I wanted you to find those filters that you were talking about. But...
Oh, no, I did. And it's oil, 53 years. Those arrows are no filters. So that's a seasonal chart. And it was actually really scary how accurate or how close to seasonal movements this chart here was following. I mean, we're talking about even a double top in March. And the dates, and it was just so neat the way it sort of like really lined up. And that's why I'm saying I'm looking for a bit of a flick up, and then about the 20th of April, it comes down for a bit of a nosedive. So that's what I'm saying. This week, if you can make something within that range, and I'd stick within that range because that's pretty safe, just watch it towards, oh, hang on. That'll be the beginning of next week, because at the moment it is pre-IFP and post-IFP at the moment. Get that, Ash? We want you to turn up at the right time, darling.
Oh yeah. So we're looking for a little bit of upside in oil. A
little bit of upside, but don't get excited. We're not looking. What I'm saying is, if you can trade it down on the smaller chart and get something from it, then that's great. But I'm not expecting a big move, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm not looking for a bigger move in oil until sort of like after the first week of May to have that, to get something to get traction on that I can leverage into, that I can scale into, that I can make some bucks on. I can't make bucks in a range.
Interesting. You talk about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and we're having problems over here. And there's even sort of some talk that the Prime Minister was out yesterday and saying that the reason that COVID's under control has got little to do with the vaccines and more to do with lockdowns. And we've had a report today about a strain in London coming out. So I wonder whether this lockdown thing is completely over, and we need that to pass, really, don't we, to see some genuine upside with oil for oil to go significantly higher again and back to, you know, maybe near $80 a barrel or something.
Look, I'm sure it'll get there, but at the moment there's a few challenges economically and fundamentally, and oil is very much, as we've said, is very, very closely associated to fundamentals. And it's, how well it will go, let's see. But That's what I'm saying. I'm not expecting a really big, the nice strong move that we saw out of January, because we expect oil to move Q1. So January it tends to go sideways, and then it's actually, end of January that I start to look for that move. So that's expected.
Yeah. So question from Lewis. Seasonally, what's oil going to do in May?
In May, it tends to go upski. Not as straight, not as it's a more sustained move in May. The date is probably the 4th, 5th of May that we look for a signal for it to go up. And then we look for it to go that way for a good May, June run. But not as significantly, the velocity isn't as steep as we expect in February, like in that quarter, that coming into that quarter, that winter quarter for the Northern Hemisphere. Or if, you get up a Suez Canal and you're stuck. Did you hear the very funny journalist who said that there was a huge amount of oil and household domestic items, including toilet paper, were on those containers, and that was just like, stuck up the sewers with the toilet paper. But anyway, I digress. Anyway,
I think he actually got that off me, but anyway, I think I said something like that way before. But anyway,
look, I think it was one of those ones that even there were too many journalists that just couldn't leave that one alone, But anyway,
yeah, I was trained in that, so sometimes you just can't help yourself.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking for, a nice slow grind, bit of a burn for oil to go from May, June upwards. And let's see if we get it back up on that. It does tend to go up in that direction. But yes, we have just had, remember the big burnout that we put in? That was a year ago this week, guys, where oil went to zero. That was a year.
Wow. And I mean, some of those things are quite important as well. Looking at actually specific dates, and the 12-month period is significant. So I wonder if we could see some messing about.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's with oil. Just be careful with oil. All my comments are with gold. Sit tight. With oil, just watch, because it's not due to take a good move. I need to see a bit more of a pullback towards the end of the month before we see the May uptake.
Yeah. So can we have a look at the strength? Thanks, Ainsley. Should we have a look at the strength indicator, Jeff, for David before we go?
We can indeed. There was a question I asked earlier in the show, and it had to do with relative strength, and nobody answered the question. So I'm obviously not getting the point across. But let me go to FinViz, and I'll try and remember the two pairs that I was talking about, because it's an absolute depiction of exactly what David's talking about, and that is relative strength. Now, relative strength on FinViz is something that you need to be very, very careful with. And the reason you need to be very, very careful with is because you need to have a very strong view of what the relative strength of a currency, remembering it's only versus the US dollar, right? It's a 1 month live performance versus the US dollar, or a month to date, or a quarterly, or a half yearly, or a weekly, or a day. Now, weekly doesn't mean week to date, it means 1 week period. Daily is the day. And here's what you need to take into consideration. Get away. What? How do I get rid of that? I don't. I'm in the Motley Fool in Australia. Why can't I find this? This is crazy. Now I've just lost FinViz, have I? Bloody Nora. Let me bring it up somewhere else, guys. Sorry about that. Bloody ads, eh? Unless you pay the piper, you get the ads. So here's what I want to say. about this particular scenario, if you're looking at FinViz, what's happening on a day, and it depends entirely on the time of day that you're looking at this, right, as to what has happened. If you look at this at like New Zealand Open, and you're seeing that the Kiwi is blah, 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 blah versus the dollar, that may not mean anything at all. So you really need to slide down the time frames, which is kind of what I do. And I start with the month, but sometimes I go to the quarter. And the monthly is telling me that Kiwi, Aussie, CAD are all in the lower end, which to me means that we've got a risk off mentality to start with. Therefore, the risk currencies and the commodity currencies, which are pretty much one and the same thing, are all down the lower end versus the US dollar, which traditionally is a safe haven currency. Now, whether that's still the case or not is completely debatable, but traditionally that would be the case. And the risk, risk off currencies, which are yen and Swissy, are sitting up here, right? So we're risk off at the moment. Risk on currencies down here, risk off currencies up here versus the US dollar. That to me says that we've got a weak Aussie, Kiwi and CAD for the month. Then we go down to the weekly, and the weekly is telling me the CAD is weaker than the Aussie and the Kiwi, which has rallied, both of which have rallied for whatever reason. But these are all risk on currencies, right? Kiwi, Aussie, CAD. Remember, they were all three down here. Now that's giving you a perfect example of relative strength. So the Kiwi and the Aussie, you'd want to be trading against the CAD, wouldn't you? Long against the CAD. On that basis, you've come down weekly, monthly. Now, what's the daily telling us? Telling us exactly the same thing. So would you want to be trading the CAD long versus the Kiwi and the Aussie at the moment? Probably not. And so on and so forth. But don't just go to the daily reference chart and go, okay, Kiwi and Aussie are the strongest. Let's trade them against the weakest, which is the dollar. You've got to have that little bit of history behind you. It's kind of like looking at the big picture when you're using monthly charts, daily charts, weekly charts, etc., etc., etc. So that would be the first thing I would say. Don't hold sway on exactly what's going on there on an intraday basis, because it may be very, very fickle. The other thing I wanted to say, I gave you two pairs early on, and I can't remember for the life of me what they were, but they were very, very clear. I think it was the pound versus the Kiwi. Yes, it was. Pound versus the Kiwi. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was. Pound Kiwi and pound CAD, I think. No, I haven't got a pound CAD. Strike me, Jackson. What was it? Can anyone remember what those pairs were?
Which pairs, mate? Sorry?
I had two pairs that I think you weren't even in the room. There were two pairs that I was comparing. Pound Aussie was one. Was it?
Oh, pound CAD.
Pound CAD.
Yeah.
Aha, pound CAD. I should have a pound CAD chart here. I don't. Why don't I?
You should.
Son of a gun.
She's moving nicely.
Pound CAD. I think you're right. It was. Let me pull that up. Because I was on the WhatsApp. That's right. I was on the WhatsApp. What's the WhatsApp? Here we go. This is easier, right? So we're looking at market direction, and we looked at, was it pound Swissy? No. Pound yen. Pound dollar. Oh, shiest. What were they? Pound Aussie and pound CAD.
Yes.
Why can't I see them now? Oh, because I'm on a weekly chart. That's why. Righto. Pound Aussie. Have a look at pound Aussie. Now, pound Aussie put in a key reversal bar yesterday, right? If you don't know what a key reversal bar is, ask me tomorrow. But it's a very strong signal in context, as everything needs to be, that the market is going in a direction. I wouldn't trade that, as I said before, because it's not a white bar. But you can see that the pound versus the Aussie is going south in a hurry, off a Kerr reversal bar that came off the pivots, off a double top, if you like, or a tweezer top, or call it what you want to call it. Then you look at the pound CAD. Pound CAD, exactly the same circumstances. Key reversal bar, off the pivots, yet it's going north in a hurry. And I asked the question, what does that tell you? Doesn't that tell you that the Aussie is stronger than the CAD right now? So in other words, pound CAD going north, so CAD's weak against the pound Aussie going south, so the pound is weak versus the Aussie. So you've got to go and have a look at an Aussie CAD chart, haven't you? And I think that's probably, the story's probably been done and dusted, but let's have a look at it anyway. There you go. So once you get on top of those sorts of things, if you see that move happening, for instance, then you're entitled to think that this currency pair is going in a direction, and that direction at the moment obviously is long. So those sorts of things give you a very, very good indication as to relative strength. And look, you can base them against not only the US dollar, you base them against something that is a definitive currency like the yen, like the Swissy, because we know that they are risk-off currencies. If you compare, say you like the pound or you hate the Aussie, whatever the case may be, if one's going in one direction against that and the other's going in the opposite direction against that particular currency, that's where you're going to find your relative strength. So I hope that helps. There are, of course, RSIs that you could use as well. I don't use indicators at all. To me, price is telling you everything anyway, but if you want to go that way, go that way. But please don't confuse one time frame on FinViz with relative strength, because that's a dangerous place to go. You need to have a cross section of views there.
Okay,
that helps, David.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Let's wrap it up. I need to wrap up anyway. I've got to quickly go do some brief babysitting. Thanks, Ainsley, as always, and thank you to you, mate. I'll message you in a bit, mate, when I'm done. If you want to have a quick catch up.
All right, mate. Probably be a bit later on, but that's all good. No problem. Okay. Thanks, Catch you soon.
See you, boys. Bye,
thanks very much. See you next week. Thanks, guys, for listening in and all the questions. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Angel, as always. See you in the morning.
Indeed, Angel. Thank you for the message as well. It's nice to know that we haven't got something up our rear end, which is great. Yeah. I probably shouldn't have put it in such a fashion, but see you later, everyone. Bye-bye for now.